Hey y'all, thought I could just sit down and do a little chit chat video with you about my experience having my daughter in July of 2020. Yes, she's a pandemic baby. So, what do I mean by a pandemic baby? Very antisocial, extremely attached to her mommy and daddy, very needy, but also very cute. So let's go back to the beginning. I found out I was pregnant on November 29th, 2019, Black Friday. I found out at 4 o'clock in the morning to be exact. And to say we were shocked is a huge surprise. We had a baby in July of 2018. I found out I was pregnant, and sadly I miscarried that baby on July 31st, 2018. I was only 6 weeks along. And on a side note, we lost our baby July 31st, 2018, and Madeline was born July 31st, 2020. So I really could not believe I was pregnant. I just could not. It just blew my freaking mind. I'm not kidding you. I was in shock. So not only one test, not 2 tests, but finally with the 3rd test, I was like, okay, maybe I really am pregnant. Especially since that 3rd test was one of those digital ones, and it just popped up and said pregnant. There's no misinterpreting that. So in November of 2019, everything was normal. I mean, I was shocked that I was pregnant, but there wasn't any lockdowns, there wasn't any mask mandates, any of that stuff. I mean, everything was just totally normal. So I had no concerns about that. So everything's going fine. We got to go to the doctor. Everything was fine. My blood work was normal. All that was great. So at the time, we were renting a house from my mom's house. She had moved to a different state for business. So my husband and I were living in her house. But with the baby and my mom not knowing when she was going to come back or anything, we were like, we got to find our own place. So we moved out to the country. We're still living here. Love it. We moved in January of 2020, and we're just renting the cutest little house. So we got moved in. Everything was great. My husband and I actually work at the same place, so we carpool to work and everything, and was fine. Life was fine. Then all of a sudden, let's fast forward to March. I was just working, doing my thing at my computer, and my manager comes up and says, do you have a way to work from home? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, I've got my internet, I've got a computer, etc., etc. Little did we know that everything was about to be shut down and we were going to start working from home. By the way, I threw up constantly my entire pregnancy. I ended up with a C-section, and I even threw up during that. So, finding out that we got to work from home was awesome for me because I was always sick. So anyways, I finished my pregnancy working at home. It was awesome. Didn't have to leave the house, got to wear my pajamas all day. Loved it. But it was really sad at the same time because this is my second pregnancy, but this is my first baby. I couldn't have family at my doctor's appointments. I couldn't, have people watch the ultrasound with me. When I was having her, I couldn't have anybody at the hospital besides my husband. And it was just really sad. It wasn't what I expected at all. And I had plans for this huge, awesome, super fun baby shower that I had to cancel because of the pandemic. Luckily, I have a very sweet and loving grandma who threw me a baby shower for family, and that was so wonderful, and it meant the world to me. So I'm very thankful I got to have that baby shower. It was so fun. It was so cute. My grandma is very crafty, and she had all kinds of little cute stuff. Her and my aunt actually threw it for me, and they did a great job. I loved it. But anyways, it was just sad that I couldn't have all my friends, and when I was having the baby, I couldn't have anybody at the hospital with me. It was really lonely. and things did not go the way we had expected at the hospital. It was very challenging. And at some point, I'll do a whole video about my pregnancy and delivery and all of that. It's a mess. But anyways, so July 31st, 2020, 6:48 p.m., I delivered Madeline via C-section. She was 4 pounds, 12.6 ounces, full term. I was exactly 39 weeks, and she was 18 and a half inches long. So not only do I have this little teeny tiny baby, I am in a pandemic, so I can't have people help me. I was terrified to let people around. I didn't want anybody to hurt her. This is my first baby. I have no clue what I'm doing. My mom, wanted to help, but she was always traveling for work. My grandma wanted to help, but I didn't want to get her sick. I didn't want her to get us sick. It was just a crazy situation. My dad wanted to help, but my stepmom's a nurse, so she's around that craziness, so I definitely did not want that. And it was just really, really hard. So since Madeline was really tiny, she was perfectly healthy. She had a little bit of problems with her blood sugar and regulating her body temperature, but after the first couple hours, she was fine. But being so little, I had to monitor her closely with her doctors her first couple months to make sure she was gaining weight. And for her doctor's office, my husband couldn't go with us. It was just me and her. So here I am recovering from my C-section, having to carry her and her diaper bag and her car seat and all of that stuff. That was also really challenging. So because my husband and I work from home and she's with us constantly, 24/7. There was a couple times as a newborn that she would stay with my mom so I could get some sleep, because she was literally eating every hour, because she could only eat like half an ounce of formula at a time. And she was also so small she couldn't latch, so breastfeeding was not an option. So she was drinking half an ounce of formula every hour. I was extremely exhausted. My husband was exhausted. It was a mess. And my mom had quarantined 2 weeks before I let her help me those couple times. Anyways, so because of all of that and having to keep her with me and away from everyone to protect her, she's extremely antisocial. And I don't mean just like she just doesn't really like people. She screams, she cries, she starts choking, her face turns blue. It's horrible. She's almost a year old and I still can't be out of her sight without her freaking out. Every now and then she'll let somebody in the family hold her, but she has to be looking at me or my husband. She will not just let somebody take off with her. And that's also really challenging because before her, my husband and I have been together almost 10 years. So, it's just been the two of us for a really long time, and we don't get any alone time anymore. So that's been really hard. And I try to work with her, and, I told her doctor, I'm like, she's really antisocial. But of course, when I'm telling him that, she's smiling and giggling at him like, seriously, Madeline? But anyways, so she makes me look like a liar, but I'm not. She really does. She freaks out. You can ask anyone. So his advice is to just drop her off and leave. And that sounds like a great idea, except she screams so loud you can hear her from the car. So she is way more attached to me than my husband. And I guess it's just because I coddle her. I don't care. I can't help it. She's so cute. But anyways, so a couple weeks ago, my grandma and my aunt babysat her for us. And that was actually successful. They got to watch her for about 4 hours. I think the trick to that, why that worked so well, is because I had my husband take her in. And she was like, okay, bye, Daddy. I'll see you later. So that was awesome. But other than those few times my mom watched her when she was a newborn, little tiny newborn, that's the only break we've had, period. Another scary thing that we had to deal with was, since it was the pandemic, diapers, wipes, formula, all the baby stuff that we needed to stock up and have ready for her to come home, we couldn't find. Now, luckily, right before we brought her home, we were able to find some things and get a couple things stocked up. But it did us no good because she was so tiny. She needed preemie everything. She needed preemie clothes, which we didn't have. She needed preemie diapers, which we didn't have. So we had to try to find preemie diapers after we'd been struggling for months just to find regular newborn diapers. And she had milk sensitivity. And so she had to do a special formula, Similac Alimentum. It's a hypoallergenic formula. And so obviously we didn't have that on hand either. And so it's just, we had all of these obstacles, you know, from the pandemic alone. And then with her, she had her own things that she came with. So, you know, finding her supplies was hard. It was so hard just being a new mom and recovering and trying to take care of her, and just my husband helped as much as he could, but you know, we're both new at this. We were both exhausted and we couldn't have people help us. Still to this day, because we hardly ever went anywhere, she won't ride in the back seat by herself because she can't see me. She's not okay with that. So I can't take her somewhere by myself. Like if she has a doctor's appointment, we all three have to go. My husband has to drive and I have to sit in the back seat with her and tend to her needs because she doesn't do well by herself. So, you know, I mean, it's just, there's just been so many challenges. There really has. And I definitely struggled with some postpartum. I don't know if it's would have been like this without the pandemic because she's my first baby. So I don't know what normal motherhood's like, but it's been really hard. Things are getting better. She's getting older, so she's getting a little bit more independence and she's allowing family to hold her more, and we're working on her allowing her daddy and I to just be away from her. And I am not trying to discount at all the pandemic. It was horrible and I feel so bad for so many family and friends that have been affected by it. And it's awful. It's definitely not just me that's had a bad year. I know we all have, but this is just my experience I was sharing with y'all. But I truly am sorry if you are someone who was affected by it. It's a horrible thing. So anyways, I just wanted to share my experience with you all and having a pandemic baby. It's been really hard. And I know if there's some new mamas watching this, you understand what I'm talking about. It's definitely changed a lot for me. And I've learned a lot. And if I do have any future pregnancies, I have learned a lot about what things I would do differently next time. And there are currently no restrictions in my state anymore, thank goodness. So we are trying to work on getting her socialized and spending more time with people, but it's still quite challenging. So if you've been through this or you just have any tips, advice, anything, I would love to hear it. So please leave some comments for me. I'm still struggling. But thank you all so much for listening to my story. And like I said, I will totally do a birth story for you guys, pregnancy and birth, because I got a lot to say about that. But just thank you guys so much for watching. And again, if you or someone you care about or just someone you know has been affected by all of this, I am so sorry. And I hope things get better. And thank you so much for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe.